Yeah, I know, that's like that you drink. First one.
And it's like rubber band, it just wound up. It all was set.
You know, doing that.
No replacement for you.
Marcia's here.
Marcia's here. It's extra
We
prize.
can sing the song. We're on the basis.
I just dress over it or anything. No, not they pushed it down in there. The machine does. All I do is.
Oh my God, I feel like I've been, gee, Christmas.
Where's play it?
Oh, we had our women's spring invitational at Derby Country Club.
Okay.
We should all be proud of our courses compared to Derby Country Club. I'm just saying.
Hey, what are you doing?
I went to.
They said, play it up with it, work hard, think there would be places you had 5 yards of bare dirt in the fairway.
Getting off the grind.
Last time you played Crestview?
Right?
Last time you played Crestview? Last couple weeks ago. I went out there today. They've got a
Just
lot.
let the winter
From the
kill it.
south.
No.
I played with 2 gals from Crestview today, and I asked them how their course was, and they said the south was really struggling. So
Yeah,
you're
the south
saying-
is bad, but north was horrible. Well, to be 3 weeks out from that tournament, they're, yeah, they're not.
is horrible. I mean,
Yeah.
none of our courses are even close to as bad as dirt.
Now, I did play at Hidden Lakes on Saturday. Their fairways are back. So, and I played, Flesh and Red, and I thought it was awesome. Yeah. It was
Yeah.
great shape.
I had a friend who played on the reflection last week, and she said it was in really good shape.
Yeah, I was impressed. All right, Darius.
Hopefully, I just feel like I've been hit by a truck. That wind is not.
I played tech today.
Hey, Marcia,
Yeah.
they go to Sawyer down there at Derby, or is that still?
Oh, you are so asking the wrong person.
Oh, it's Bermuda.
I think it's Bermuda.
Look, they lost their
Let me sit
community
back
at
here.
one time. They were.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were coming.
That's what I get for being late.
Usually it is, but
What's up, bud?
Probably got a mixed lead up there the whole time. No, it's totally.
You walk in.
It's just nothing after
Going?
that.
Yeah, I got it.
Sometimes you can see the dead Bermuda, the Dermot Bermuda, at least I call it dead Bermuda.
All right, bye.
But sometimes it's just dirt.
Okay, I believe we'll call the meeting to order. We do have a full board here today. I appreciate that. Everybody does. Do you have anybody here for public comment? I see nobody. I don't believe anybody signed up, so move on down to announcements. If anybody has anything they'd like to bring up at this time? Wait a bit,
I've got a couple things, but
okay?
really just some kind of updates. Of course, we'll talk more about it. Of course, we've had with this cyber attack, we're, it threw everything into chaos. And I know there were some things we were working on right before this happened. The food and beverage position, the mechanic, we're gonna talk about that a little bit. I'm finding out today that certain systems are starting to come back on, so I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it sounds like they're making progress, but that pretty much shut everything down, as you all know, with the city. So we couldn't, everything from accounting to, the finance, HR, everything. So the mechanic position, I know that's a big topic that we're trying to push as hard as we can. We got it approved and everything, but we couldn't act. We didn't have a system. We had pen and paper for a couple of weeks. So hoping with the news that I got today, that means maybe we're getting close where we can start firing up everything we were doing leading up to that attack. We can start getting these things rolling again. So I noticed some things were on today. I just found out some more stuff come back online today. So hopefully that's a good sign. Next meeting, Ron and I have met with a consultant about a kind of a bunker renovation, just to kind of plan and down the road. I think it's something that we would benefit from greatly at McDonald, and we could kind of use that same philosophy if you guys agree at the other courses potentially. So I'm going to put the rest of that together and get it cleaned up, and I'll have a presentation ready for you next board meeting. But we really like the concept that he came up with. We're working on, of course, if you send it all out for contractors. So there's a big expense. We wouldn't have to do that. So we're working on getting the pricing and cleaning that up. So I'm pretty excited to kind of put that in front of you all and get your thoughts on it. We do have the Corn Ferry qualifier coming up on June 10th at Auburn Hills. So we're working on getting ready for that. If any of you would want to help out that day or willing, able, interested, please let me know.
What was the date again?
June 10th, Monday. The past Saturday, we had the Golfer Appreciation Day at Tex. Just like I did with Junior Day, scheduled it on Prom Day. I scheduled this on Graduation Day. So I don't think we quite had the turnout we would have had, but it was a really good day. Got some great feedback. A lot of our, I'll say this the right way. Biggest critics were there, and it allowed me to kind of track them down and have face-to-face conversations. And I think that was a big benefit. Kind of answer some of their questions and concerns. And so I think just for that reason, it was a big success. So we're trying to stay busy. Of course, we're still no credit cards. It's cash only. That's been it's a pain. And financially, unfortunately, we are seeing some negative results from that. People are bringing cash for the green fees, but not anything else. So they know what the green fee is. They pay it. They don't think about getting enough to get beer, drinks, any merchandise, whatever. So we're seeing on the supplemental areas of revenue, we're starting to see a hit. So hopefully with the news I just got, we're going to get those credit cards going again pretty soon. I think the rest we'll kind of cover as we get through the rest of the agenda. So that's all I got.
Question about the Corn Ferry. What kind of help do you need? And do you need a lot of help? Do we need to go to our clubs and ask for help? Or
No, I don't think that much. I know Auburn and the men's club, they always have some volunteers, but there's not a lot. They have a starter, anyone to kind of help look for as a spotter in certain spots of the golf course to help. Anything just to kind of help keep them moving. And we don't want people to get penalties when they shouldn't get a penalty because they couldn't find a ball. So I'm not trying to get 50 people out there. Maybe just a handful would be good. They do a good job at that event. I mean, of course, they do it every week. So they kind of come in, set up the circus, break it down, and move to the next town. So they've got a pretty good plan in place.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to comment about? I do have a few things here real quick. I was able to attend the Appreciation Day, of which we know we had a scheduling conflict, which might have dampened it a little bit, but I thought it was well run and I thought it was pretty well attended. There was quite a bit of participation in the putting and the long drive and people out listening to the clinic and what have you. And it didn't help my game much. It helped Jesse's. No, he put on a great demonstration for people. Questions from the persons that attended, showing what causes what and balls, what causes the flight and how the club path changes to create certain situations. But in the future, I mean, anybody can go out and attend those things. I think they're pretty interesting. So hopefully next year we'll miss the graduations and everything else that's going on. So
I'll do it on Tuesday just to be safe.
Yeah. They had some nice participation, so, and great hamburgers too.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anybody else have anything they would like to comment at this time? If not the case, I didn't see. I have not seen the minutes, so
We can't get to them. So
yeah. So again, going down to continuation of prior business, I know. Anybody else has any comments about that? I know we've got some other stuff. Obviously, we do have the grassing problems that we need to address. We do have the tree problems we need to address. And I think probably somewhere in the next meeting or two, we're going to have to sit down and start prioritizing something. Mm-hmm. I would like to think we would have money to do all this stuff, but I can't foresee it. I know that the CIP for Sim Park is kind of caught up in the backwash of all the problems that the city's having now. And hopefully when the smoke clears, we will be able to to go with that. And if we'll have to prioritize maybe some revenue for that, we don't know yet. So
Do we have a plan moving forward? As far as I've heard, a couple of council members are interested in pushing that a little bit. But do we have any other avenues that we can do to help that along so that, just so that we get it on the forefront, so that it's at least in their minds to think about, because it's in dire need.
Yeah, I think we had talked about maybe attending or one of you, I think we talked to maybe about Marcia going, but attending a council meeting and doing the public comment. I still think that would be a good idea. Especially right now, everything's kind of been chaotic and that's kind of been pushed to the back again. So I think we need to bring it back to the
I
forefront.
totally understand. I just think that once the smoke clears, like Mike says, that we want to be sure that we get out there, because it's almost June, and it seems like last year in July, they were locking down all their CIP stuff, and in August, they voted on it and it was a done deal.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be here and gone before we know it.
And I don't know if the timing has changed because of everything that's happened. And I mean, you can imagine what the finance folks are dealing with right now, or not able to deal with at all. So I've not bothered them about anything, trying to let them do what they have to do right now. So hopefully if things are starting to come back on, we'll kind of get some updates on timing and what's been delayed, what's not been delayed. But I do think, city council meetings have continued as normal. So I think trying to get on the agenda or the public comment part of the next meeting would be a good idea.
hey, is that a state statute about when they have to have the budget completed?
I don't believe so. I don't believe it's dictated by the state so much, but really we kind of seem, not to speak for our budget people, it seems set out several years in advance for the most part. So every year we're thinking like 2 to 3 years ahead. And the schedules for the next couple years do basically seem set already, might change based on things like, but I don't think it's dictated by state law or anything.
So the one other old business that we seem to have passed over is that other member of the committee and whether or not we had to take that oath of office stuff again.
We were supposed to get sworn in again. It's a good point.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
In case everybody wants to bail.
All right, I don't even remember who the person is, but I'll find out and I'll set that up next meeting. Before the meeting, when I may ask you to come in 10 minutes early so we can get through that process again to get sworn in. Does that sound like we're up?
Yeah, that's fine. And it should, it's fine probably. It's okay.
Yeah.
The oath is still probably active. I think we are running up against time, but y'all started a little bit later too. So it was like on a different, we usually start March, April kind of. And this board started in June-ish, I believe. So it's off a little bit anyway.
Did that individual that you were referring to for the other position drop out or what happened?
No, I'd sent, before all this happened, I'd sent everything and I haven't gotten a response. I'm assuming because of everything that happened. So basically I have to submit it to council. They have to approve it and all of that, and everything pretty much just completely fell apart
Okay.
over the last few weeks. So I'll make a note to follow up on that and see. I didn't even have email for a few days there at all. So, yeah.
Okay, anybody else got any other comment for this prior business or anything that they would like to comment about? No response, I would say we move to new business with the first thing being the update of procedures.
Okay. Well, this has changed since I made this agenda. It changed 2 minutes before this meeting started, apparently. So I kind of touched on this. I just kind of wanted to, at the time of our last meeting, everything was normal. Now it's not. I have no access to anything with our budget, not just me. No one does. I can't see, nothing. I can't see anything at all from next to HR. So all the back end stuff that I typically deal with every day, I've had no access to. So I'm very, even my little financial update is very limited for today. So
Has that hampered the hiring of the seasonal help too? I mean, have they,
It has, but we're going again. We're going again. So, and we've got, in the last week, we've had a lot
Yeah, we
of
did, yeah.
completions, people getting ready to start. So it definitely did right off the bat. It pushed things back, obviously, but yeah, they were really quick. HR did a great job in figuring out quickly how to pick that process back up and get people started. So
super.
they did a really good job there.
It was having access to the program or the NeoGov. You know, when none of us even had internet. So, you know, people that were, the ladies at the parks office, she was able to bring in her phone and laptop, do some stuff. So, you know, she's done that to process one of the people for me. So
Today, for the first time since March or May 4th, I was able to Google something. Normally I would go to Google and it would say blocked or can't access. So, I mean, I could literally had nothing. So, and no one did. So, I got to the office today and I was in there, I pulled up Google. I'm like, oh, it works. So we can do stuff again. But, yeah, it definitely did, but they reacted pretty quick. It took about a week to kind of get that back going. And we've got a lot of seasonal help that are starting this week. Of course, school's just ended, so we get a lot of an influx of people that start. We've been trying to time that out to get them through the paperwork and all that so that they can start as soon as their availability is open. So I'm gonna let them give an update on their staff in a minute. In the clubhouses, we're starting to get quite a few people. We hired a new customer service clerk or customer service position at Tex. I don't know if he started today or he's starting this week. They desperately need that position. Mac is doing pretty good in the clubhouse. Auburn, you're starting to get, especially on the F&B side, you're doing good. We still could use some more on the pro shop side. And then Sim, they seem to be doing okay. I think he's got someone else coming on. So clubhouse is looking good, and I'll let them talk in a minute about their maintenance.
Yeah, I mean, I have noticed it in the short time that I spend in there, though, that phone is ringing off of the hook.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing.
I know because they can't go online and make tea times or whatever, but it's almost like you need somebody there on the phone saying, okay, yep, what do you want?
Mhm. And we also are directing them to the line upstairs. So we've got someone here, two people here that are doing it on top of all 4 courses, 2 phones at each course, that there's not 1 second that goes by without one of those phones ringing. And yeah, it's sorry. You guys are doing a great job, but yeah, if we had more staff, we would definitely, that having that extra body in there to answer the phones would be justified. We need those hours to, we can't.
Well, hopefully it's close to getting.
Yeah.
In regards to the seasonal employees, did we finally get it authorized for that increase that we had actually budgeted? Or are we still going down to the bottom of that rate and then still trying to bump people?
Bumping people one by one. And we've done a lot, over the last, a lot of the ones that we did were approved, but then this happened so that they've not seen that yet.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's person by person, right in the 1-page justification memo for every single person.
We still haven't been able to take that particular pay spot and get that to where it just starts there. You don't have to hassle. Okay.
No.
I'm just curious.
So we moved the starting up to everything's above $10 now, which it was when I got here, there were people still in the 8s. So we got it to that, but to go, there's a pay scale basically, and anything above midpoint requires authorization. You got to send it through the chain. So I got the pay to start at the midpoint, but above that, it's 1 by 1 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
This creates more.
And then, yeah, and you try to hire someone new. Well, now you're hiring someone new at higher than someone that's been here for 3 years and done a great job. So you got to take care of them, so it's.
My other question was regarding to the mechanics position. Has personnel had any chance at all to start writing that job description or not?
Yep. Yeah, we had it all pretty much ready. There's a mechanic 2 position that I think is what it was called that exists in the city that we use. We tweak it.
Kind of a starting basis. Well, I had a question because these guys have got some specific things. I would think that they would have some ideas about what may be included in there because you're running specialized equipment and whether or not anybody was consulted regarding that or.
Y'all were,
Okay, I just want to double check.
yeah, I'd printed off several mechanics job positions from like the GCSAA and stuff. So just to have the wording to where it's.
Well, I didn't want us wind up hiring somebody that wasn't familiar with
Right,
what
yeah.
work on.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be to where they have to have experience with reels and all that kind of stuff. It's not just, have you ever worked on an engine? Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, all right. I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we get some input into that. So, all right.
But yeah, just to kind of close this up on the procedures. It's a moving target. It's the main things right now, no, for the customers, no credit cards, no online booking. So everything is cash only, everything is call or go to the clubhouse to make your tee times. I mean, from a customer standpoint, I think those are the main things, the classes, camps and all that. We can't do online registration. So we've sent as much as we can out to the public, asking them to go to the course in which they want to take the class or camp or tournament or whatever it is, and just pay cash at that. And we kind of quickly came up with a system to track that and keep all that sorted out. So when they show up for class, we know what we're walking into. So it's not been fun, but staff has done a fantastic job in trying to work through that. No, of course, they can't give a timetable because they've got to make sure everything's safe and done the correct way. And people way smarter than me trying to figure all that out on the IT side. But every day, it seems like for the last week, something new kicks back on, and it may be minor things, but at least there's progress. So we have not really been able to pay vendors. That was one of the main things that they were kind of put at the top of the priority list. And I think they've started to get that sorted out. So obviously we've been in constant communication with all of our vendors, food rep, beer rep, all the stuff that we get. And they've been great working with us. Our beer license was due right when this happened. Well, licensing can't get to their system either. So we went through all the steps, did the fire inspection and all that. And then we had to get a letter drafted and have everybody in the city sign it saying, we've done it. We just can't prove it, but here's a letter saying, please accept us and bring us our beer. So that was a heck of a process.
First things first.
Exactly.
Have a golf,
But
but you
yeah.
can't sell beer.
It was our first calls. We had like 3 beer calls that day. That was like the high priority.
I'm playing golf for that.
So yeah, just I guess the main point is kudos to staff. For me, honestly, it's kind of been, I can't do a lot of my job, and I've kind of been, what do I do? I get to my office and I'm like, oh yeah, I can't do that. I'm like, okay, let me go to the net. Can't do that. And I've just been going course to course and kind of just checking, talking to people, and which I can do is spend a lot of time on the courses, but staff has done a fantastic job adapting and figuring out how to continue to operate.
Last of my particular questions, and I've already asked Jesse, and due to some personnel problems, we are intending to put the practice nets up there at Zen Park as rapidly as possible, as soon as we get enough manpower to be able to do it. And
I'm gonna
keep doing everything else.
try to do that Friday. That's when I go, yeah. He doesn't have staff. I'm gonna have him come and say yes or no to what I'm trying to do, and then I'm gonna let him go back to work, and I'll have a couple of people out there. We'll get them up. So hopefully we can get that done Friday.
All right, moving on to the biggest question of all, I guess, course conditions, fairways, greens, et cetera. We can address that and maybe come up with a plan, and I'm sure we've got some ideas sitting around here.
Well, let me, if you don't care, Dalton had a dentist appointment that he rescheduled 3 times already. So he had sent me a text. I know at Auburn, there's been questions about the greens, speeds of the greens primarily. He does have, I have to talk to him about it a lot last week and this weekend. He's got plans of starting to roll the greens, gradually lowering the height of the cut, and then he's going to start adding plant growth regulator. to the greens to kind of slow down the growth there to speed those greens up. So to me, the results of that will happen pretty quick as he starts to do these things. I know they're not fast, and I know there's been a lot of people talking about how slow they are. Randy, you can speak on this because I know people approach you, but
About on 18 that day, I see you missed it.
here's another big thing from Auburn. So in April, they had 2 full-time and 2 part-time, and 1 was very part-time. In the middle of May, right now, they have 3 full-time and 4 part-time. June 1st, they're gonna have the 3 full-time and 7 part-timers. So they're going from 4 to 10 people. I know some of the rough had gotten behind, especially after a rain, the fairway, the seed heads are starting to, there's a lot of things, but basically when you're working with 2 people, it's very hard to keep up on those things when it starts to grow and take off, especially when it rains every 5 days, which I'm not complaining about, but as soon as you get it halfway done, boom, it explodes again. So, getting that staff that's what we need. We've got the equipment, we just don't have people to use it.
Once they get that staff, I know they can do wonders on a Tuesday maintenance day where they've got 4 or 5 hours, nobody on the golf course. They can just go out and it's amazing what they can do in just that many hours. But if they needed to, if they had, like you said, 7 part-time guys, have 11 people. I know they don't probably have that many mowers, but if they had to, it might help if they could do maintenance days, a couple Tuesdays in a row or whatever they need to do to get the course back to a pristine.
Yeah.
Just something to think about. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dalton would probably be the guy to ask on that.
Yeah, I think the maintenance days are great, but I think even just adding those people during their normal routine, they'll be able to send out 2 rough mowers, like instead of just one person going out doing whatever and Dalton's working on an irrigation leak. Now everybody, every part of the golf course can be getting mowed every day. So, or when it needs to be. So I think the results will come pretty quick with that. So on Auburn, before I move on to them, any other topics?
When I was out there a couple of weeks ago in Auburn, that zoysia had gone to seed. I don't know, is that good benefit to us when it mow it? Is that seed mature enough to take hold, or is it just, waste?
I don't think that's viable seed.
It's just,
It's just a seed, but it'll not germinate.
You'd have to sit there for a month or 2 to.
Sure looked pretty thick, but hoping that it was.
The only other thing I would add is some of the bunkers that have that black tarp showing in there, even if for temporarily, we could just get some extra sand in there just to where, you're not bothered with that black tarp. But I don't know how expensive sand is, but it seems like
But I think the people would be we can definitely do it. If we have the people, we can get sands on it. It's expensive if you're doing all of them, but if you're just buying enough to.
it's the ones that have the black tarp shown. I don't do all the bunkers. I'm just saying there's 4 or 5 of them that have that black stuff shown, or it's, I don't know, it shouldn't be that, well, it should be covered up.
Right. Okay. You want to go, Darren? Go in order?
Staffing wise, last 3 weeks, just been me and one person. Joni came back yesterday. She's tender, but she ran the fairway unit all day, which helped.
But just so you know,
Yeah.
Joni had a medical concern she had to deal with. She was out for a little bit. She's back now.
And don't know how long because she still has some other things she has to do.
Sure.
So I don't know how long. It's amazing, just one extra person. How much it frees me up, because I didn't even have an opportunity to mow the fairways last week. Our fairways, everybody knows they've got winter kill, but luckily I'm sandy this year, and I don't think it was as bad as it could have been because it dried out some. But my plan is I'm going to try a bag of seed Bermuda and seed in some of them spots.
So
On 9, 3 are my 2 worst ones, just to see if I can get anything to come up. Because with pre-emergent, I don't know.
if you go, I'll print it out since we can't do a print. You gotta go to add things. work with Ron and hopefully we'll kind of have, hopefully, this will take, but it kind of goes through the process. Again, they're all gonna do a small section to make sure it's gonna take and then see if that's something we want to do in the report. So I just want to have them, let them look at that when you're talking. Go ahead.
The temperature have to be a certain degrees before the seed will actually germinate. Is there a
You like it,
65 degrees for soil temp.
you like it.
So we're, yeah, pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't checked the soil temperature, but
Yeah, should be there.
yeah, we're close.
It's May, what is it, May 20th or something? We had 5, I don't know.
Well, until last week, we'd only had 4 days where the daytime temperature was even above 80 degrees. So I'm seeing a lot of places that, well, I'm sorry.
Nope, it doesn't matter. I'd rather somebody else talk.
I'm seeing a lot of places where it looks like, yeah, there's gonna be nothing there, and then a couple days later, you drive out, and you're seeing some little green sprigs coming up. I've got a couple places I've marked, so I can take a picture with my phone, go out, and, just see what it looks like 4 days later or 3 days later, so. Yeah, I know a year ago, went out about the end of April, and I'd been to 5 holes, and I had enough stuff painted out, measured out, painted out to get 2 semi-loads of sod. That was only on 5 fairways. And like come August, it's like, man, that'd have been a big waste of time and money because so I've got some areas that, I'll be talking about my seeding plan, but yeah, there's a lot of areas that are going to fill in. It's just frustrating that takes time. So.
Ron Mosier, last year, he actually cut out part of 2 fairway and took that zoysia and put it over into part of 18 fairway. And I don't know if there's places where we could do things like that.
Yeah. I have some areas from when we've transitioned from rye that's just never been much zoysia, and I sprayed that rye out this year. So I've got some areas that I plan to just sod in because it's just bare right there. So those areas I'm going to, but we've got some areas that are, it's hard to, I've got some areas I'm planning on seeding, so put it that way. So, and something he touched base on is that, in the spring we use, generic term, we hope people, you got to put your crabgrass killer down. Well, it's a pre-emergent herbicide you put down that prevents weed seed from germinating. Well, it'll prevent grass seed from germinating. This year I had scheduled mine to go later, and so I didn't put it down this spring. So my seeding options are probably a lot better than theirs, obviously, from that standpoint. So that's why they're talking about doing some testing to see if, how it's going to react.
Well, if you core aerified and you tore the ground up, you pulled cores out of there, wouldn't that break the barrier for?
In theory, but it's the way that chemical works. When the seed germinates and the new roots start going out, they're going to go out. They're going to hit that chemical outside that hole. So it's yeah, that's one thing they always say, it creates a barrier. Then you don't want to aerify. Well, the only place the barrier is no longer there is right where that hole is. So
What they're gonna try to do is put it in above the barrier, knock on wood. If you do that, you can get some germination that can come up. It's just like when you see them seed a tea after you take a divot out of your greens tea. You put seed in that, it comes up. It's fine.
You could dip it.
Yeah, it does. What are you doing that for?
You should be taking it down.
Say,
Oh,
I'm a gouger.
I thought you were talking about you.
No, I'm a hacker. I take
big difference, if you ever, like if you're overseeing your yard with fescue and they say, oh, you got to make sure you get the seed down in. But with Bermuda grass, you don't want it down in. It needs to be just laying almost right there on the surface, very little cover, because it needs sunlight to germinate. So.
And kind of looking at this piece of paper, Ron and I talked about possibly trying to seed some areas with zoysia, but apparently you can't find zoysia seed right now. It's impossible to find. So that put it on here, but doesn't sound like that's an option. If this does take, you kind of look at, we had wrote this for Mag, but up to 10 acres, depending on where we end up after everything starts to really pop out. $500 to $900 per acre. I'm jumping ahead here, but in the grand scheme of things, if we're spending $4,000 or $5,000 to get grass in the fairway, that's nothing. That is absolutely, I mean, to me, that's a no brainer. Get that done. We just gotta make sure it's gonna work. We don't wanna waste that money. And then I'm jumping. You gotta go. I don't know why I'm talking. Go.
Well, while I'm talking, I'll go ahead and finish what I was doing. So I've kind of got, what I'm looking at is May 28th to June 7th, do aerifying, both solid and coring aerifying in the fairways, begins seeding on June 8th. Looking at with that 10 to 14 days germination, part of the big deal is gonna, or the biggest deal is gonna be cart traffic. You know, we're gonna have to have the golfers give us some help and, you know, keep carts out of the fairway for about 60 days. Maybe shorter, not till today, but you really can't see us. But what I would do at my course, I would designate places, have signs made, you know, like here's a spot in the fairway where there's some good Bermuda. Well, you know, you're driving down the rough on this side, the other guy's ball's on the other side. Okay, go to that crossover point, cross over to the rough on the other side, and then have one like it closer to the green. So it's, give them some access points, because it's, yeah, it wouldn't make sense to drive the cart up here, back around there. I wouldn't want to do it. So, and I think, you know, most golfers are going to work with us on it. They understand. It's just educating them and getting the information across. Another thing, after it's seeded, going to have to run sprinklers a couple times during the day, because the seed just needs to stay moist. It doesn't have to be messy wet. But you got it, of course, it'll get watered at night, but sprinklers run during the day, come on for like 3 to 4 minutes at a time, a couple times during the day. So that would be something the golfers would just need to understand. But like you mentioned out at Hidden Lakes, you ever play out at Hidden Lakes in the summertime, there's sprinklers running on fairways all day long. So it's.
Feels good.
Yeah.
Outside of that.
Yeah, that's, yeah, well, that's well water. You don't want to get hit by that pond water at McDonald's in summer.
Oh, well, that's a good point. Starts to roll on my skin.
You know, and I think it's just how it be. You guys remember playing back in the years when Ernie was superintendent at Tex, but he just programmed the greens to come on 2 times during the day. You might be out there putting in the water and come on. So, it wouldn't be ideal, but it would be what we need to do. That's the thing, you know, look at it, you know, trying to restrict cart traffic into fairways for about 60 days. I've got some areas where I'm probably going to look at changing some contour to the fairways to where it would, some areas where it would be changed to where it'd be rough. So it'd be, you know, fescue put in, fescue or ryegrass right now put in. So less fairway area to have to worry about winter kill. So got about 3 holes I would recommend doing some changes on, and Jesse and I have talked about that. We'd have to go out and just look at it to just make sure it makes sense. So a couple of them, it's the way it used to be, and then we started, you know, making fairways through those areas. So that's mine. I've got an email back today. I asked the guy if I decided to do that with the Bermuda seed. He said he could have it here by the end of the week. So it is available. It's out there. So I feel pretty confident about it. It's just gonna, I mean, there's nothing guaranteed, but, you know, looking at the fairways, I'm more encouraged than I was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, you know, since we've got some more weather. We're seeing some areas that, yeah, that area is gonna recover. So, but there's some areas that don't. I mean, if you played Mac recently, you know, there's other guys I've talked to at other courses out of town and other places. Seems like the lower places where water would run and sit is where you definitely had a lot more winter kill than, you know, higher places. And it's usually you're going to see it like on a sloping fairway on the north facing slope. You're more likely to get it than south facing slope. But I was out mowing some fairways today and it's going down 13. It's like going down the north facing slope. It's not that bad. So it's, you know, it really doesn't, it doesn't make sense what Mother Nature does. So, but yeah, it's frustrating, but we're going to deal with it best we can.
Mention here that there's some new variety of Bermuda that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some that are, yeah, these newer ones that I'm looking at, they're, you know, through the national turf trials and the university research that goes into it. It's, you know, they're supposed to be, they call them more cold tolerant. So, but that's,
So is it the actual, the cold that did it, or was it?
it's the one we had that, probably like that second week of, well, the Chiefs Dolphins game. Is when it was really bad. I've talked to a guy up in Manhattan. He's got Bermuda fairways, Bermuda rough. Well, he had 6 inches of snow when we had that cold weather. He's fine. He doesn't have any problems at all. So. It's,
Whatever we're doing this spring and summer, are we thinking that next spring we won't have this problem, or what's the thought there?
It's up to Mother Nature.
Yeah.
I mean, this wasn't any of the practices that we were doing. This was because of Mother Nature. Wasn't anything that Seth did or he did or I did.
The last time it happened was probably 1990-ish.
Well, last last year
Was nothing compared to this. So this is like every 30 years. In theory.
That's very important what they're talking about. We have so many golfers that only play our courses. They don't know this is widespread. So these guys are getting blamed. I mean, I'm getting emails and calls face to face nonstop. Anything we can do to help educate these folks. I mean, these guys want the fairways better than any golfer wants the fairways. There's things that are out of their control. So if we can just help educate everyone, let them know, look, it's Mother Nature's, nothing they did, and it's not just our golf courses. It's happening all over. I'm not going to name courses, but I've played a few in the last couple of weeks, and we're as good or maybe better than a couple, and the other ones are big time courses with 10 times the budget and 10 times the staff have the same issues we do. There's nothing you can do about it. So anything we can do as a group to help educate these people and answer these questions, I mean, it's not fair to them for people to think, well, he just don't care. That's stupid. So, and then go back to Sim just real quick. One thing I want to mention, we were working through the process to get a Cindio contract in place. Cindio's the temporary work service to get some employees there. For some reason, no one is applying at Sim. We can't figure it out, but that was approved and ready to go. I think on Friday, we had the last approval come through. On Sunday, and we have to have a PO in place. We can't access the system to create a PO, so we've not been able to utilize that yet. But now that I just heard what I heard, the first thing at 8:05 in the morning, they're gonna be getting a call to see if I can get that going for you. So.
I have a question. Where are we kind of on our volunteer marshal program? And I'm asking that because I was relating it to the idea of getting golfer cooperation.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we have, I mean, every course has in the last couple of weeks has picked up a few. I know I think you picked up a couple, Texas picked up a couple, Mac, I don't know if Sim has.
We have one and he comes out on Tuesdays during Women's League when we do not have issues then.
I was gonna say, when we're perfect, right?
Well, not. Yes.
Told him to come out.
We have the least amount of traffic then too, and
So I gotta be careful there too. Marshals at Sim, we had we had a few, and they also, I'm not doing it because of the stuff they had to deal with.
Yeah.
We have them, they try, and then they come back and say it's not worth it. I mean, I don't know what it is there. It's a different.
And part of the reason.
Issues there than anywhere else.
Doesn't surprise me. Part of the reason I was asking, I don't know if you know, but Willow Bend has had carts in the ref only for 7 years. Trying to make the fairways better. And now that it's semi-private and we have public coming in, they cannot keep them out of the fairways. They're driving straight down the middle of the fairway all the time. So that's why I was just curious if we had any way of helping when you're ready to start trying to control carts.
my only reason I would feel somewhat encouraged about it, by having the sign, so, okay, let them know, hey, if you got to cross the fairway, do it at this point.
Yeah.
Last year, we started a deal with, when you played out there, I mean, and even some of the very worst people, I can't believe they're doing it, but up close to the greens, where we don't want them to drive any closer, where I've got the signs and the wooden post. I mean, I told Jesse, I've been more than pleasantly surprised that 95% of the people up there, and they go to the pass. It's not like they were being jerks. It's like, well, now they know here's where they want us to drive.
It's education, no question.
And the guys that Mike plays with some days have been pretty good.
Even now.
Those guys?
Even now?
Oh, man.
The guys he plays with, not Mike, he's still terrible.
Oh, okay.
The name of the group starts with S and ends with M's.
Well,
And Ron, can you give an update on your staff level?
Or we could use more. I've got a kid that worked some last year. I think today got things finished up, so he's coming back. Luckily I've got some pretty good core retired guys that have been doing it several years. So, they're the ones in the morning, mow the greens, mow the tees, mows the collars. Like, start at 5:30. If I get there at 5:15, there's two of them waiting for me to unlock the gate. So that part's good. I've got one younger kid that's a college kid who's even worked, half days during college. Real good kid. He's doing real well, but had one guy that passed or failed the drug test, so he didn't work, obviously, get started. Had one guy lasted about, 4 days, but for his first 4 days, 2 of them he wasn't there, so he didn't last very long, so.
How many guys you got?
500.
I've got, including my retired guys, got 3 retired guys. I've got another guy that comes in and he understands. He comes in like 3 or 4 mornings a week and mows. He owns his own business and he enjoys doing it. He can freak off. So, that's the one little dangle thing. So I've got, so with this other kid work next week, it's going to help getting basic stuff. So Kat, she's my assistant. I aren't, having to spend 3 days a week on a rough mower. We can be out there getting weed sprayed and doing other stuff like that. That's we need to be doing. So I'm not sitting as good as I'd like to be, but I'm in pretty decent shape staff wise right now.
Is any of the staff?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Interchangeable or whatever? If, say like, if Sims needs some help this week, can we send a guy from Auburn or a guy from Tex to go help?
That's a lot harder to do than what it sounds. So they don't know the course. You're having to basically show them everything. So you might as well just do it yourself. That's a hard thing.
Not really interchangeable.
We share,
None of us are really staffed up enough to do it. We do that during when we're air fighting.
If there's a special project and you bring them over for a day or 2 for your
verification, we
Air fighting.
Some.
Everyone will go help at other places.
So how many guys did you say you have? I'm sorry.
I've got myself and the two full-time positions, and one of them's he's been there about 3 weeks now. One had a guy retire in February, and so the guy that's replaced him, he's been there 3, maybe this is his 4th week, maybe. So he'd worked, a lot of years in the golf business before, so it's not new to him, but McDonald is new to him, so. And working for me is new to him, so, but, and then I've got, 3 retired guys work about 4 hours, not every day either. Got the other guy that comes in and works part-time. And I've got, another right now, I've got just one person who works 40 hours a week as a part-timer. And I've got a college kid that'll be hopefully.
So about 8 or 9 total, but
Yeah.
most of those are part-time.
Yeah. So, man hours wise, I can track it. I've been at about, maybe 90 to 100 hours a week, part-time or seasonal man hours. And there's times like I know in the past if we're like at 200 to 220 a week with the seasonals, we know we're doing. Or we can go out, we can get all the rough mowed twice a week and, the things that matter to me. I want to say this one golfer, he was talking about the fairways. And I said, how many fairways do you hit today? 1. Well, why are you worried about fairways?
She's telling them, pay for the spots that got the grass on. That's what I do.
A lot better.
Yeah.
The golfers stop and ask me questions and they're good about it. They see that, people believe me. I've been with the city since 2003 and last 2 or 3 years, things are totally different than it's been for a long time. And golfers appreciate it and they let you know. So it's that part of it is good.
I mean, Dalton, what's Dalton's secret sauce getting all these guys all of a sudden?
He's a charming guy. I don't know. Oh,
It might be.
Sir and yes, sir. No, he's always sir. I'm not old enough to be a sir.
I told him, hey, you're not in the service. You don't have to call me sir, but it's.
For the purposes of summarizing, we all know we've got some problems. It's a matter of how we correct them. Excuse me. Correct me if I'm wrong, most of the damage all happened in common and old native stuff that was mowed down in the fairways where they had that big thick runner and some slight growth on top that it got smoked. Basically.
A lot of mid-lawn or mid-iron,
Yeah.
in U3.
Yeah, well, the U3 we knew was gone, but if we choose to do this program, which is what we started to do, whether it's seeding or sprigging or whatever the case may be, those are the areas that we're going to try to attempt to rectify it through one method or another, be it sodding, be it zoysia, be it Bermuda grass. But we're gonna go with some what we think is more cold weather tolerant, obviously. Now, when people keep comparing our courses against other courses, they tell me about this course or that course, they're running ryegrass or bluegrass, or they're doing this or doing that. I mean, I can show you the great courses that don't have any Bermuda grass left too. So as we get into the program, we're going to hopefully rectify that. And that's what we're going to tell people, that we're trying to either via sprigging, which we're doing at some places, via sodding at some places, be it trying to seeding at some places. We hope that when you're dealing with warm season grasses, the potential is always there to have a 30-year setback sometime or another, which is what we've had. I mean, it wasn't isolated to us. You drive down the streets and you can see dead Bermuda all over the town. So,
Is there any chance that would pop back once it gets hotter, like 90s and 100, or is that?
I mean, I'm seeing areas where you're seeing stuff greening up in it this week that I didn't see a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
We're fertilizing, I mean, more than we normally do, trying to push it.
Right.
They've already started trying to push, and the push obviously will enhance what's there. And there could be a thing in there where if you get a big enough patch that looks pretty good, you can steal out of that, move it over into another spot. So, and it comes back. When you're pushing that hard and you're skinning something off the top, you top dress it back. You may see that sprig come back up there in 2 weeks. You'll have it start to regenerate it. What we want to do is, I assume what everybody's mind is, Jesse's and everybody, is that we want to have something that we can say to people, this is what we're going to try to do. So some kind of a positive that says, well, you realize that we got hit and we're going to figure out a way to overcome it so that we'll have less chance of that the next time around. So
Are we going to be trying areas at all the courses, or are you just going to try yours first, kind of see?
No, I'm.
Time frame to do this, or?
Oh, yeah, my concern was I did put a pre-merge down last November that shouldn't have any residual now, but I'm just gonna go seed a couple little spots with some ryegrass, just see what happens with it. Just because ryegrass will germinate, I mean, you'll see it in less than a week. So if I'm seeing germination with that, I'll feel good about
that was good.
what's going on, so.
There's different scenarios here. Like I said, he had put his pre-emergent down way last fall. His half-life's gone. So he, like he says, he's got a good chance of being able to germinate something. Seth, on the other hand, has got Ron Star down and he can spring it.
4 months later,
So, excuse me?
probably about 4 months after his.
Okay. So, well, it's still going to have an effect, but you can sprig into that and it doesn't hurt. You can't seed into it, but you can sprig. So he's a different scenario.
Yeah, because it's already germinated. The sprig's already germinated. So
Yeah.
Already live, yeah.
Is a different story. He got his I assume he got his everything was kosher, done great. And he's caught between a rock and a hard place. I mean, It's,
Like I told Jesse earlier today when he called me asking me on some of this. Here's a positive about having a crappy irrigation system with Ronstar and stuff like that. You have to water it in. Well, my irrigation system doesn't necessarily always do that. So I will have areas that I sprayed out, and I only went a half rate too. But, so hopefully I didn't get a good effect on some areas with that pre-emergent. So that is the one positive about having this
So
system.
will you
right
be
now.
testing yours too?
Huh?
Will you doing a test too?
Yes.
I think probably when you get to Auburn, the best chance is if you can buy some sod somewhere and steal some sod off of their nursery, plus, borrow some off your edges and fairways or your 3 parts or something. Once we get to where we can get some help, we can just get a lot of it sodded in, which is gonna be your best answer there.
Yeah.
Because I really don't want to contaminate it with Bermuda grass again. I mean,
Where did he lose?
18
Bermuda there?
Probably the biggest.
what's that?
Where's his Bermuda?
Oh, he's got it, yeah, he's got it in 18. There's several fairways that's in it and that's bit to the now. He also lost a little bit of zoysia. Everybody lost some zoysia. I mean,
I heard that, I just didn't know how much.
I'm not glossing that over, that he didn't lose some zoysia, but, I think that's probably his best bet. Again, this is all predicated on us getting some extra manpower because they cannot do it with 3 or 4 or 5 people. It can't be done. You still got to spray, you still got to mow greens, fairways, rough, everything else has got to be done too.
So one of the things, I'm not that knowledgeable on grass or not, but the horses that are in the area that have nice fairways have a blended grass. They've got the Bermuda for the hot summer and they got fescue or whatever for the cold winter. Why don't we do that? I know you said last time it was expensive, but this is awfully expensive too. So help me understand that.
Choke it out.
You lost me there.
No,
It balances in the spring and the fall,
no, most of the courses are either cool season or warm season. There's,
How about overseeding?
talking about overseeing, but everyone's pretty much either cool season or warm season at this point, just
In this area, that's,
this area.
Heston and,
Who's not?
well, it looked to me like Heston.
Heston is pure zoysia.
Louisiana and
They
Bermuda.
do not have anything else in their fairways.
What about Hidden Lakes?
Hidden Lakes is cool season.
Yeah, they're-
They're basic.
Dry, aren't they?
So will you
No,
be in trouble
they're
in
not,
the heat of the summer?
they're not pure.
Yeah, that's why when somebody says,
No, they're not pure Bermuda. When I was there this past Saturday, when I looked at the grass, it had something else in it. It wasn't pure Bermuda there.
Hidden Lakes,
Yeah.
no, they're ryegrass.
That's what I'm thinking. It's a blend. In the summertime, the Bermuda comes back. It's a balance. It comes in the spring, the cold weather grass, in the
That's-
summertime, the hot weather grass comes.
that's the trade-off that you're doing. He can't do that. If you want to run ryegrass into his fairways, you got to water it all summer long. And you got to pay $7.80 or $8 a thousand for water to the city because the city doesn't give you water. It has to be watered constantly. That's why when you're out, they make a comment when you go play in July and August at Hidden Lakes, the sprinklers are coming on all the time. They're just cooling off the ryegrasses. That's the same thing that happens at Teradyne. It should happen. I'm not saying that it does. That's the same thing that happens at Cheney when they're running ryegrass fairways. That's just the nature of the beast. That's what we can't afford to do.
Yeah.
And I know everybody would love to. We used to overseed with ryegrass. But the cost became prohibitive.
And the labor, the time. I mean, we're down to 2 and 3 people. And then at that time of year when we're overseeding, if we have 2 or 3 people, it's hard to get the tee boxes done sometimes.
There's consider, I mean, yeah,
I'm not trying to make excuses
if
here.
we were in a position budget wise where we could see ryegrass, we would not be in this position, but there's the water, there's fertilizer, there's the, ryegrass, when we were ryegrass, we would be mowing fairways from about March 15th to Thanksgiving. With the Bermuda, we can start mowing in May and be done by the end of September. With the Bermuda, we can mow fairways twice a week. Ryegrass, we're mowing 3, sometimes 4 times a week. So you're talking about that $85,000 piece of equipment that gets worn out in 4 or 5 years compared to 9 or 10, plus the extra man hours to do it. So, I mean, when we did that, it was all because of a financial reason. It was part of the reason we did it was to keep the doors open. To be quite honest, that's what it was. So.
I went to Reflection Ridge several years back. And I went in there, they're running ryegrass fairways. Their chemical budget was $130,000 a year just to spray the fairways. Now, we can't do that. No, it's just physically impossible. It can't be done. You get out and, like I say, it's hard. I'm still trying to run them. And I don't know how they're doing it. I unfortunately haven't had any time to go after her this year at all, so. But I'm guessing that they're probably looking pretty good right now.
And you're thinking about this as if this happens every year. So when you think of it, it's like every 30 years.
Weather grass happens every year. It doesn't green up until June. So that's, it's pretty much natural every year.
Yeah. But there's, I think, Pinehurst and really nice courses that have stopped overseeding just because the cost and the playability, just because it's not green, the playability on dormant Bermuda or Zoysia is pretty comparable to the cool season grass. It's just the looks. And so I think pretty much everybody that I know of around our area has completely gotten away from it. If they're still green, it's not because it's a mix. They might have some Bermuda in there, don't get me wrong, but they're trying to be cool season. We're trying to be warm season.
Bermuda grass is odd, and is that if you let that go and if it's running at 2 inches, there's a lot of difference between the effect of winter kill on a 2-inch grass versus what's cut at 5/8. That stuff is skinned down, and even though towards the end of the season in August, I know these guys back off mowing, raising mowers, but you can't put enough protection on the top of that thing, which is a negative. And it's just fact of life as to what happens. So, and unfortunately, like I say, you get it. I know it's in 1989 when we done Sim Park in 86, 87. That was mid-iron in 1989, 1990 spring, there wasn't nothing coming out on it. That was brand new stuff dang near. It just,
Good take.
it was beautiful until the 1989 winter. That was the winter it dropped from, what was it, like first part of December to from like 70 degrees to 20 below zero. We tried to blow the irrigation systems out and put the pressure, the air pumps on them and started blowing it. Froze come out of the nozzle. You couldn't even blow them out. We split about 70 heads at Sim Park. That's just what happens in this part of the country. If you had not been irrigating, up to when we got hit, you'd have lost it to drought. So, I mean, it's a catch-22.
And if you remember, we got that snow and then it warmed up and melted it and then it froze.
Well, what happened is we got that snow, it warmed up a little bit and you had a 2-inch rain and you had water stand all over the place. It just froze right down in there. It froze it right through the crown.
Like the rain, yeah.
Yeah, it's very obvious in my course. The lower places where water was wet when it froze, those areas are, I mean, it'd be green here, in between browns, so.
You go play the Zoysia courses too, and you got the same spot that's bad there too. I mean, we're not, that's the only unfortunate soul.
The only reason, the difference between like me and Seth, he's clay soil, so his didn't dry out. Mine had pretty good sand. That was the only reason I had some more Bermuda that survived. You know,
Which is normally the opposite.
it's right. Yes,
Normally,
it should be better than mine, but yeah,
usually it's too dry.
backwards.
This was a fluke freak, hopefully if it happens 3 years in a row, other superintendents will be taking care of it.
Yeah, because
Like I said, this is my plan A, and if anyone asks what plan B is, well, I turned 65 last year, so plan B.
this is not something
So
that.
I'm in better position than these guys are.
We're somewhat shooting for the hip on some of this, because
All right, for the purposes of getting on down the road,
Yeah. So
I think
yeah, I would ask all of you, if golfers ask, say, yes, everyone has a plan. They're gonna be doing it. They're gonna try and make it best they can, as fast as they can.
You know, at Tex, I will say, I'm gonna try seeding some Bermuda probably tomorrow and see what it does. But like I said, I put my pre-emergent down a lot later than he did and a full rate. So I probably have the least chance of that working. So I'm looking at sprigging a bunch of areas. And the big areas I'd like to contract out. So I'm getting pricing on having someone come out and do that, because we just don't have the ability to do that big areas ourselves. So 5 or 6 fairways, we probably try to get done. But I have no idea what the price is on that right now. I'm waiting on some calls back.
I know you had a harvester. Did you have a way to plant the sprig, or are you doing it by hand?
We're doing it by hand, and that's the brutal part. So
Put it by hand.
yeah, we have a machine that will kind of till up the sprigs, then we have to rake them into piles, move them to where we want, and then put them down. And we don't have a real good way to get them into the ground, so they just sit there. So then I'm trying to cover them with a lot of sand to keep them wet. And yeah, and we've done this several years. You know, every year we'll have a couple little spots here and there. But we probably have 15 to 20 acres this time. So it's just, it's more overwhelming than I was hoping for. Cause we did one last week and it was just about killed some of my crew. It's a lot of retired guys, and it's just like, this isn't gonna work. So, we'll probably try to get some of the fairways that aren't as bad. But, yeah, I'd like to, now if the seeding works, then maybe I'll just seed all those areas. That's best case scenario. Anyway.
I didn't notice that at Tex that you have a lot of clover in your, lost a few balls in that clover right off the fairway.
Yeah, and that's gonna be, not only are our fairways gonna be bad, but all the time that I'm spending, I mean, my staffing issues, I don't have an assistant right now, so if there's any spraying that's gonna be done, it's me. If there's any irrigation work, it's pretty much me. I'm training my greenskeeper, but he doesn't, that's a lot. I've got a guy that will do some mechanical work, but the spray, if I'm doing all the time sprigging and putting fertilizer on the fairways and doing stuff on that, a lot of the extra stuff like the spraying is getting missed or pushed way back. Normally I would have sprayed my clover early May.
We're behind on
So it's
spraying too.
right. So like last week, weren't able to mow rough because we spent 2 days putting sprigs down, top dressing it, and trying to get the irrigation to work to keep it wet. I mean, it's just, it's making everything worse around it too. So I'm sorry about that, but we're doing what we can.
Yeah, but you said you were in the rough.
Well, maybe for the grass.
Well, little did you know there was just weeds there.
that's by definition.
Well, I think what I'm hoping, thank you guys for coming here tonight. I wanted them to kind of obviously explain, they're trying things out, they're figuring out what the best plan of action is, but kind of help explain to you guys so you can explain and answer these questions. Again, it's not fair to them to get, it's nothing they did. There's nothing they did wrong. There's no quick fix. So I put out a video last week. I should let one of these guys do it, but I was trying to just hurry up and get it out. And I've had 10 people stop me and say, hey, you know, that video made sense. I didn't really know what the problem was, but you know, at least that kind of made sense. We know what's going on. Seth made a sign that it's in the text clubhouse. If you've seen it, kind of explaining what the problem is and what the plan is. And every time I'm in there, I see people stop and they read it and they, you know, it's like, oh, okay. You know, at least we know. I think just helping us spread that message that these guys are doing everything they can. It's not their fault and we're trying to get it fixed. I think that's the main thing. I don't know. I'm letting them tell me this is what want to try. Okay, that's their area. That's not mine. I don't know. These guys know what they're doing. They're good at their job. I have full faith in them. I just wanted them to come tonight to kind of explain, hey, we got some ideas. We just got to figure out what's going to work and what's not. So
Yeah, I want to give my hat off to them for doing what they're doing with the amount of help they've got. Man, these places could be completely dead with what they've got. So hats off to you guys. And I mean, we've all seen what they can do when they've got Mother Nature and staffing on their side. So yeah, like Jesse's saying, I think it's on us to educate golfers and let them know.
Yeah.
Trust them, give them some time. Hopefully we can work with the city and get that staffing stuff in a spot where we can get them some help. Cause man, when they get it going, the golf courses are awesome. So it's up to you guys. Yeah.
I say the tee boxes and the greens, really nice. And all that, like they play the other courses around and they're not able to compare right now. Good job.
Just stay there.
Ah.
Tee to green.
Tee to green.
just play the part.
Drive the green. The green on every hole and you're okay.
We need to start selling little mats.
That's what I say too, little 2x2.
Yeah.
Carry it with you.
Yeah.
Put them on the cards.
Today,
Down.
teeing up everything. Where we are, just tee it up. Cause you
Sometimes you gotta walk a ways.
I've seen people do that before.
Well, just carry
On a tee, yeah.
Oh, I think.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I've seen people do that.
I mean, you might as well be hitting off this tabletop.
the handicaps will get better.
Yeah.
Good point.
All right, moving on. Junior golf program update.
Yeah, I've got a little handout.
Oh, mine, I'm.
Do you need us anymore?
You need for the rest of the meeting.
No, you can have.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Hey. You, Darius.
You guys have this little sheet that's in your packet or in your paperwork there. It says junior golf. We're full ended this week or end of the week, whatever. So I just kind of want to go through. We've got a lot of junior golf programming coming up. It's been made way more difficult with this situation, not being able to register, but we have Hooking Kids starts this Friday. The kids are going to come out Friday, get their equipment, kind of go over everything. And then with the holiday on Monday, we'll come back and they'll do Tuesday through Friday. There's 12 kids at each course. One cool thing about that, the fire department comes out for 1 hour at each course, and they bring their truck, and it's just kind of a fun little deal. They take the kids through some stuff that they do, whatever. Kids love that. So it's extra little bonus. Junior tour, competitive tour. This is I think it's an 8-week tour that, it's a point system, just like, a very, very, very miniature version of what they do on TV. So it's every week there's points awarded. And then we have a big championship at the end. I try to take care of most of the work on that because these guys are so busy. So sending out the emails, the pairings and everything every week, and it's fun. We have a good turnout there. PGA Junior League, I think Tex is the only one this year that has a team, but I know they've been starting their practices, getting ready to compete. Starting new at golf for the small kids, we currently have those classes have been going, continue to go at each course. So have good. I think most of them have been full pretty much every class. And then of course regular youth lessons. First Tee's got all their programming rocking and rolling. They're blowing away their numbers every year. They just keep growing and growing. So that's great. We have the golf marathon, which is all kids play for free. That tends to get more and more each month. So we got more participation there. And then Wichita Junior Golf, that is the 8-week program. We have each course every Monday and Tuesday. There's a starter class and they call it a players class, a little beginners and a players class. And they have up to 120 each day. They come out at each course. So you're gonna start seeing a lot of kids at the course, especially Monday and Tuesday mornings. But that's what it's about. I feel like the staff and areas dealing with a lot of this. They do a great job. We obviously want to see kids at the course and do all we can to get them out. So almost everything we do is very minimal of cost. We can provide equipment with Hook a Kid. Every kid gets a set of golf clubs. So the first day they're still in boxes right now. So we're gonna break out all their new equipment, get them new clubs, and I don't know. I think that's something that we do pretty well, especially with our partners that we have at Wichita Junior Golf and First Tee, and then everything the guys do at the courses. So just wanted to kind of update you. That's getting ready to really kick off next week. So a lot of kids up.
Is the junior golf all on the same day? The Wichita Junior Golf Program?
They're Monday and Tuesday. I did switch, and this was a task. I had them to agree to switch Monday and Tuesday so that MAC will be open on Monday. Every day there will be one east side and one west side course open. So last year, every course was closed except Auburn, and then we had the Monday qualifiers on a Monday. There's a PGA tournament, like a PGA section tournament that's on a Monday. So during that 8-week period, there were 4 weeks where every course was closed on Monday. And we really worked hard to try to make sure that didn't happen this year. So, and for something that's been going as long as it has with the same routine, that was not an easy change.
Believe me, I know all about that.
Yeah.
Fortunately. Now, all right, do we have any questions regarding this? I know there's a whole lot of kids that participate in all the various programs now.
Yeah.
You can get in one, you can get in 2 programs, and a lot of these other ones are still available and they're scattered all over in all of them.
Yep.
And that's, you build your base there. Okay, any questions regarding the junior golf programs? All right, moving on, we have been discussing this already, the staffing update.
Yeah, I wanted to start with the full-time positions that are open. The position for the head pro at Auburn just closed on Sunday. Just got the list back. It looks like we had, I think, 5 applicants that made it through the pre-screen. So we'll be starting that process, and I will be reaching out to a couple of you to see if you're interested in helping with that process. So I'll get with you individually on that, but so hopefully we'll be able to get that ball rolling here in the next week. The food and beverage position, I've had questions. I think I kind of briefly mentioned what I wanted to do with that. So I wanted to kind of clarify that a little bit. It was a food and beverage position. That was the only thing that position had. Now that the work is done, and of course this whole deal with the cash has been a problem, but that position, to me, there's no need to have a full-time. I mean, the guys at the course are going to do the food ordering. They're going to be making the food. There's not a lot of position. So I wanted to basically add to that position. So I was looking at staying over the food and beverage, and then the added marketing aspect to that. Right now, the marketing that we do is done by Shanna, who does not work for the golf division. She really, what she does is just helping us. It's a bonus. It's not really her job to do golf. She works parks. She's got a million things going on. So this person would do not just social media marketing, but like any of the signage that we have, the graphics, working with anything that has any image or outgoing message to the public. I would like for them to kind of oversee all of that. And then there would be like some customer service training with new hires. When we have new hires come in, they would put together a packet where they would sit down and spend in the first couple of weeks of each person's coming on board. They would spend a little time going over customer service, kind of that thing that we just don't have. I mean, guys at the course, they don't have time to sit down for 2 hours and spend with someone new. So to make sure, my goal, and things have been far from normal for any period of time since I've been here, but is to get uniformity across the 4 courses where things are done the same way. I mean, every course has its own, uniqueness, but there should be a base set of things that happen the same way at each course where customers can expect. This is, you know, I'm gonna get the same service the same way at each course. So that's kind of what I had in mind for that position. I know I had a couple of questions about that. So if you guys have any questions or comments on that, it would not be reclassed. It would be the same, or it'd be the same position, same pay scale, all of that. It would just have different responsibilities added to it.
Has that job description been written yet?
It has. I was right in the middle of kind of going back and forth with HR when this happened. So, yep. I wasn't in the biggest rush to keep that going because I wanted to free up some money for seasonal staff. So the longer that's vacant, the more, you know, money we have open for seasonal, but it's worked out. It was kind of forced to delay that position, but now, and even now, let's say magically tomorrow, I get everything approved by HR. I mean, that's still 6, 7, 8 week process to get someone in there. So we are going to free up that bit of salary. Any questions on that position before?
Just a vote of confidence. I think that all sounds like a really smart plan because I think the whole idea of increasing our social media presence, I mean, you've worked so much at it, but it's where people are living these days. So
Yeah.
you gotta have somebody who's kind
Well,
of,
and we get going with different stuff and it falls through the cracks. 3 weeks go by and I'm like, man, well, I haven't put out a video. That's not my intention. It's just.
somebody needs to be dedicated to that. And I think
Yeah.
that's the best of it.
Yeah, that's, my only wonder is isn't that more of a seasonal type job? Because over through February, you know, you're not gonna be hiring a lot of help. You're not gonna be training a lot of help. You're not gonna, I mean, I can see some of it because I know keeping the places rented out for different functions, whatever they may be, weddings, birthdays, business parties, all that kind of stuff. But it just makes me wonder if that's a full-time position all year long or.
Well, I think like even in my position, I feel like the winter time, like in the summer during golf season, I'm just putting out fires all day. And the winter time is the planning. That's when you're getting everything lined up for the season, and that's your time to actually sit down and put it together. And I think this position would lay out the marketing plan, get everything ready, more the administrative duties to execute during this golf season.
If they're gonna do the social media and food and beverage and et cetera, they're gonna be the ones scheduling special events. They're gonna be the ones, which is a lot of that goes on in the off season. That's when you fill it up.
Yeah.
So, I know. Get a spot in Auburn Hills. My niece was about 1.5 years trying to get it out before she was gonna do it. So.
Yeah.
I think.
Title for that position yet?
Yeah, what did he say? I haven't been able to look at that in a month. It was, I mean, the city title position, it was like. They all have their names. It's, I don't know, like,
I just wondered how you're gonna market it when you.
yeah, so you'll have like the official city title and then we'll create a title. So it would be, marketing special event coordinator or something like that. I actually had, no, for that title you're asking about, I had not put a title to that. I definitely want to put marketing in the description somewhere. I want someone that has that background. I don't know social media, all the patterns and the algorithms and all that. I don't know how that stuff works. I feel like it changes every year or two. You got to have someone that's willing to keep up with it. Okay, we talked about the mechanic a little bit. Hopefully, in the morning, that's priority number 1 to see if we can get that kick started. Full-time sets, assistant superintendent at Tex is open. That's open right now, so we're hoping to get some good applicants there. I think that's all the full-time positions we have open, and then of course seasonals we've got 1 million vacancies. We're just trying to we get someone good, we're hiring.
Is it, so for the maintenance side, staffing, is it just no applicants?
At Sim, yeah. Well, yes, overall, but especially at Sim. I mean, he's had his greenskeeper position open for like 5 or 6 months and he hasn't had an applicant in 3 months. And the 4 that he had before that had no experience whatsoever. I can't figure it out. I mean, you could put the exact same posting and they get nothing at Sim. I don't understand it. And we try to push that harder than the rest and I don't know, can't figure it out. I mean, that's what he said. He's had him and one other person for basically a month at the start of golf season. That's impossible. I mean, when he aerified, when he did the aerification, I went out and drove and like did the top dressing. And he had someone from Tex come over. I think that's all we had out there. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know why no one will submit an application there. The clubhouse, actually, yeah, they had put a customer clerk position up and they had quite a few applicants come in for that job in the clubhouse. I don't know what it is.
When they put that up, they would ever suggest, we don't have this position available right now, but we do have this one. Push it.
Yeah, it's very hard to do. You would have to basically, so let's say Seth puts a position out. He's the only one that can see the applicant. So he takes what, the ones that he wants to interview. What he would have to do is interview them and then they would have to go and reapply for the position at Sim. I can't just transfer the application. They have to reapply, start all over for that other position. Go through, and most people are like, I mean, it's not a quick process. I mean, it takes a while to fill it all out and do all that. Most people are, when they don't get the first job, they're moving on somewhere else.
That's if the built-in roadblock.
That's one of them, one of 50. I have to replace the shocks a lot and hit these roadblocks. Sad. But the Cindio, if we can get that PO in place tomorrow, I mean, that should be pretty. Last year we used, I don't know, we had 3 or 4 people that we used from Cindio. So at least we can try to get some bodies out there pretty quick through them. It's a lot quicker to go through them than it is to go through our hiring process. So maybe we can get some people out there and get him a little bit of relief anyway. The problem is most of them don't have any experience. So there's that learning curve and you're taking time away to teach these people how to do everything.
Unfortunately, that's the case. All right. Any other questions regarding staffing discussion? If not, we've got Tim here. We'll make it. But
Yeah, let me hit on this real quick, the finance.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have the full report. I can't access a lot of the things I need to get the numbers. So I will say one good thing that through all this is our spending is down because we can't spend money. So our expenses should be really good for May. But looking at basically year to date, we're still up $250,000. 250,000 for April. We were almost dead on. I think we were, 10,000 under last year. Last year, I don't think we had anything for the month, and this year we had several rain days. So, and then only taking cash definitely took a. No, I'm sorry. In April we were good. So that I think just the rain days. May was massive last year, and as only taking cash, we're going to fall behind that last year. A little bit there. I don't think it's going to be terrible, but we are going to fall a little bit behind. And then I put this number at the bottom, the merchandise sales at Auburn. We obviously purchased that merchandise and we've done about 26,000 from the day that we had to purchase it through May 10th, I believe it was. So we're slowly, I mean, we will make a little profit on that, but really I just want to recoup that money that we're spending for it. We tried the big tent sale at Golfer Appreciation Day. We moved truckloads of merchandise over there, and then that was the weekend, the first weekend of cash only. That's not exactly the best way to do it. Since have people that want to spend $500 on a credit card and tell them, I need you to get cash, and they walk away. So we still sold, I don't know, $4,000 or something at that 10 sale. We probably would have tripled up if we would have been able to take credit card.
What did we pay for the inventory that we had to purchase?
We're still working on it. It's gonna be about 126,000, I believe is the number.
Wow, we recouped about a fifth of that.
What's that?
About a fifth.
And we're working to kind of figure out what's the best strategy. Like, do we just move everything at cost and get it out of there? It's just some of the stuff that, I mean, we got $115 Ralph Lauren shirts that people aren't gonna pay that. Even when we mark it down to cost, they're $60. People are reluctant to spend $60 on a shirt. And that's just for us to break even. So, we're working on trying to figure out what's the strategy to just get this out the door. So if you know anybody's looking for deals, we got them at Auburn Hill. Deals at the Hills.
And is there any thought of putting some of that merchandise at the other pro shops?
They would have to purchase everything on the
Purchase.
road, yeah, and they don't really seem interested in being stuck with $115 shirts, so. Now, the golf boat, we did open an account with Strixon, through the city, because there were range balls that were bought through his account, that we're transferring those range balls to the city account so we can pay them and make that a lot cleaner. With that, we will be able to order some of we go through a lot of the lower end golf balls, with Strixon, to people that just say, give me your cheapest ball. We need that option, so we'll be able to order those. And I'm also looking at getting rental sets for all 4 courses through that account. Our rental sets are embarrassing. I don't know if you've ever seen them. I mean, it's a Dunlop wedge and a 1984 whatever 7-iron and a driver that's from Walmart. I mean, they're bad. So we're looking at maybe getting 3 or 4 sets at each course. Seems like lately I've been hearing in the clubhouse and hearing more people need rental sets for whatever reason. So I think it's definitely a good look to have something better in there. And the way those rental sets work, they'll put them on a kind of a rotating deal. So you have them, normally it's a 2-year deal. At the end of 2 years, they take those back as trade-in toward the new set. So yeah, now the problem with that is people know they're rental sets. They're not theirs. They don't care. So you got to really pay attention, check them when they come in, and take some kind of, I don't know, license, and we'll figure that out. So they're not walking away. People are not my clothes. I don't care how much, so when I was at the Marriott, we kept 40 rental sets. Obviously, a lot of people from out of town, and that was the biggest headache in the world. I mean, God, you get one in and the shaft is broken and the club head's in the head cover in the pocket. But yeah, if you have any questions on the finance, I'll try to answer them just off the top of my head. I can't pull up a report, but I'm kind of keeping up with we're pretty much right where we were last year through the end of April.
It's rounds looking like since cash only.
The rounds haven't slowed down. Yeah, I will say it was pretty impressive. The first 2 days of that was chaotic, but we kept trying to blast it out as much as possible. And of course, these people come to the clubhouse after the first time, they know to expect it. And after 2 or 3 days, 90% of the people were bringing cash. Some of them I don't think understood that we can't just flip this back on. It's way beyond us, but.
We're fortunate at Auburn because we have Dillon's and Kansas Bank right down the corner. It's not even a quarter mile away. So a lot of people come in, don't have cash. Oh, I forgot about it. We tell them there's an ATM right down the corner. They go down there, grab some cash, and come back. Now, the other courses, I don't think they have that ability to really go grab cash and come right back and not miss their tee time. So it's been beneficial for us.
We had some graffiti at Auburn. Somebody took spray paint and wrote, put a big X on the rules sign and all this. So I went out the other morning and took some Goo Gone stuff trying to see if I could get it off. Didn't work. But did you know if they had any luck with it? Anyway, as I was walking under the tunnel to get to the first hole where that sign is, I heard a cart go by, and he said, who carries cash? He's like, I never carry cash. Why would they do that? That's stupid. As a business, why would you not accept cash? I'm just like, do you think we just decided as a group, hey, let's stop doing, whatever. So it's still, people don't get it, but we're surviving.
Any questions?
I want to go back to something that should have been brought up probably in prior business. I kind of failed you and lost in the shuffle that you brought up the idea of a deal with Friends University, I think at the last meeting.
Yeah.
And I promised you I'd get you some information on that and I forgot until just this minute.
Yeah, well, it fell through because we were waiting on you and the guy said, forget it. No, I have actually I was trying to get Dustin, the coach, to come out for junior golf day, and he guest speaks all over the place, and he had a speaking engagement that morning, and then it ran late and he didn't get to make it, but we haven't said, we've tried to schedule a meeting with him and the athletic director from Friends so we could really sit down and go over this, and it just hasn't happened yet, but
So there's still a possibility.
Yeah.
And some information about how Willowbend pulled it off would be helpful.
yes, if you can still do that, that'd be great.
All right. As you all know, Tim Bryant here, he's done a fantastic job filling in for us at Auburn. He is stretched his hours out significantly, so we will hear from him now and update.
Well, thanks, Mike. I don't really have a whole lot to say that hasn't already been said regarding Auburn Hills, but
Just so the
okay.
picks it up, sorry.
So like I said, I don't have a whole lot to add other than what's already been said today. Only thing I can tell you about Auburn Hills is I know the rounds are still doing pretty good. The cash issue was a problem at first, but I think a lot of people are understanding that now. We're continuing to book more tournaments. I booked probably 3 tournaments in the last 10 days or so. We've got some tournaments coming up, the Corn Ferry qualifier. We've got a South Central PGA section stroke play event coming up on the 3rd of June. That's going to be a big event to showcase our golf course there at Auburn. Some other tournaments going on in the latter part of May, the first part of June, and continue to book tournaments into August and September and October. Course conditions are improving every single week with all the weather we've had, nice weather, so that's getting better. Other than that, I really don't have a whole lot to add other than that we're just going to keep doing what we're doing every day. Oh, I know one thing I was going to add is that we've put several new girls on the food and beverage side. And what our goal there on the food and beverage side is to try to have a bev cart out on the golf course on front 9 and the back 9, probably 5-7 days a week. We could probably do it every day, but that becomes a staffing issue. But we're going to hire a lot of young ladies to do this for us. And we're going to have so many girls there that we're going to do split shifts. We're going to have a morning girl and an afternoon girl and try to do, like I said, 5 or 7 days. That's only going to help generate more revenue for the food and beverage side. And that's what Deanna, who kind of oversees food and beverage for Auburn over there. And that's what her and I's plan has been the last several weeks, ever since Scott's been gone. Like I said, I've hired probably 7 new girls. They're in the process of getting on board now. I've got 2 new girls there today, 1 new girl yesterday. I just got an okay for another girl to come on board and start working here this afternoon. So I say here by the 1st of June, with all of them coming back to work or coming out of school and coming back to work, you're going to see a lot of improvements on that food and beverage side in Auburn Hills. That's pretty much all I've got to say.
And I think
College students?
Some are college students and some are high school students, yeah.
I was gonna ask, when you hire college males, do you call them boys?
Men.
I would ask for the same respect.
What did I say? I'm sorry.
Girls, at least 25 times.
Young women. Okay.
That being, if you're hiring high school, can they sell beer?
If they're 18 or older.
I can, yeah. Yeah, so we would have. What do you have? Do you have any that are?
If I have a person that applies for a position in there, say it's a young lady or a young woman, if she's younger than 18, I'll I'll put her on the outside staff. She'll learn there and she can work for us for a couple of years and then she can come into the food and beverage side. You have to be 18 or older to work in food and beverage.
A couple of things to add on that he brought up the beverage carts. The iPads for the beverage carts were set up on Friday before the Sunday when the hack happened. So we worked with IT for 2 days to get all that ready to rock. And then now we can't take credit cards, but they are ready to go when everything gets normal. So the beverage carts, I mean, that's going to be a huge, so many people don't carry cash. It's funny to say now, but they don't carry cash. So they're out there, they want something, they don't take cards, like, well, never mind. And they lose out. So that'll be huge. And then kind of, if I was just listening to what he said without knowing, I would be thinking that's a lot of people. Like, why do you do that? But some of these folks can only work 2 days a week. So it sounds like a lot of people, but it's not covering, they're not working full time, not even close. So
They're gonna work 4 or 5 hour shifts. It's not like we're working a lot of hours.
How do you do that through personnel? If you have to have requisitions, or do they not have to have that?
what, to hire that many people?
Yeah.
We have a ton of open seasonal positions. They stay open, and we've got, Auburn probably has 20 in the clubhouse and we only use 12 of them or whatever it is. Yeah, we've got a lot of open positions. Now, it'd be great if we were low, like we had all those full, then we'd have to pick and choose. Like if you can only work 2 days a week, we need somebody more, but we've got plenty of open positions. So.
I don't know if we ever get it. We can hire ladies for the maintenance too. We got a few that work on maintenance, so. Just as,
Yeah, two of our assistant superintendents are female and they're fantastic. I'm terrified that they're gonna leave us pretty soon, and they're not for, just because I think they're getting ready to call it quits, and that's terrifying because they are awesome. Joni and Kat are two of the best people we have on the system.
what they call it.
Well, I'm not saying they're gonna do it now, but I know they're getting to the point, they're kind of done working, or they're getting close where they're done working as many hours and doing all the stuff they do every day. Yeah, it's a lot.
All right. Any further questions for Tim? Appreciate you. Thank you for coming. We do not have representatives for the other 3 courses, so I believe we'll skip to that and go on down to the project update, which I think we're all going to have to start looking at. Projects cost money, and we're going to have to look at some things to prioritize some things here in another meeting or 2. But I know we'll have to go back and double check the projects that we've had pending all along, see what's done and what we need to prioritize. Due to the fact we're probably going to have to spend a little bit of money for reestablishing fairways and doing some work there. So, but we're going to need to look at the old project list and then kind of prioritize what we think we need to try to do.
I think one of the good things about the fairways is we're gonna spend money that, we normally don't spend, but our expenses have been pretty low this year. So the money, it'll come out of the regular budget. We've got plenty of room within the regular budget without having to do any kind of adjustment or pull from a project fund. So just the regular maintenance budget. I think we're in good shape, at least to be able to do those things.
You have a rough estimate of what you think the fairway losses?
I mean, in my head, I'm guessing 10 to 15,000 per course if we go full force. Now it depends on the next week or so, what comes out that, I went out 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago with Mike, and there are areas that look like this. And I think, well, that's done. Well, you go out now and there's green coming out in a lot of, not all at all, but in a lot of those areas. So I really don't think we know exactly where we stand at this point. So, but in my head, I'm thinking at least 10,000 per course probably to get the seed. And if we're going to do it, my opinion, and of course it would take input from you guys, but let's do it. If we're going to, don't just pick a spot here and there. If we're going to seed it and we're going to do whatever we end up doing, let's do it right.
You need a motion to proceed on the.
I don't know that we have the specifics to make a motion yet.
So they're gonna try the tests first.
Yeah.
They're gonna
Yeah.
test some spots, see if it works.
No, I don't think a motion would be required for that. It's just maintenance. Yes. I just want to make sure you guys are involved and know what's going on and have input.
So at Auburn, he wouldn't be seating in Bermuda or whatever.
I wouldn't think so.
He would probably go to Zoysia if he was doing something. So
If you can find it.
well, it's like Ron Noser did. We can take it from other parts of the course and cut it out and put it in. I mean,
Yeah.
I know it's possible.
I mean, you can still fairway, sod out of 3-par fairways and those kind of things. So, yeah, there's ways. And he has a little sod over there in his nurseries.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Do we still have nurseries at our courses? I know the one at Sims, I don't see it there anymore.
The bent grass nursery or?
The one at Sam, so when I started, weeds were
Yeah, that's what I.
tall. He knocked it down.
I thought I noticed that he had seed up on it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's trying to reestablish it. It was so far gone.
I actually haven't been there for like 3 weeks, so.
I was just curious if Dalton had a game plan to proceed forward. Like, I kind of heard what these guys are gonna do, so I understand that. But I was just wondering about Auburn because it is slightly a different situation.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think seeding, I think we'd have to sod a lot of that. We could pull sod. I know I was talking to someone about Buffalo Dunes over out west, and they take the first, 30 yards of every fairway that no one hits in, everybody's past that part, and they use that as a nursery for that hole.
Yeah.
Which is it seems pretty logical, but I've never really heard someone doing that like that. But I think we could definitely get that. I need to get with Dalton and get more specific on what his plan is.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for him, but yeah.
And like Mike said, the par threes too, there's places there where you can take some of that.
Yeah.
I know last year or probably the year before, when Ron did that, they brought out like 11 pallets of sod to replace where he had cut out of on the right side of 2.
Mhm.
And the men's club came out there and they put all that sod down for him in like 45 minutes. And Ron was just so thankful because he said, we'd have been doing this all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I know people will always volunteer to help if there's something that they can do in situations like that.
Yeah.
We can get some extra hands.
It's when you're sodding, when you're doing a project like that, you can actually buy big rolls and they've got machinery that you can just take a roll and it's done. And it doesn't cost any more to do it that way. So,
Yeah, tear the ground first or just lay it?
well, where he's stripping out the sod and he's putting it over into the areas that he needed to do it. And then if you buy your 12-inch sod pot and you have to lay that by hand, it's a task that you don't really want to do versus when you say a big roll, they put a piece of pipe through the middle and the machines just roll it up, it rolls up this high, they put it on the back of a tractor and roll it right out.
Yeah, Ron would cut the sod out of the area that he wanted to put the new sod into in the fairways.
Okay.
So it was the same thickness there. And then when he put the new sod in.
It's a pretty quick process. Obvious thing is cutting it out and putting it in the fairways, not particularly putting it back where you've already cut it. So it's, but again, that's based on what size of roll you're buying. Whether you're buying, a little 2-foot patch or a big roll of yardage there. So, but, and
Last year when I went to Washington, we had on the National Mall by the monument, Washington Monument. So all superintendents, so people that's their life. And there was about 75 of them and they had pallets of sod stacked. All we had to do is just basically carry the sod over and lay it down. That was the coolest thing I've ever been. There was that massive area, bigger than, it was like half a city block. And it was just, you carry a piece, you get it, you turn around and there's another 100 foot already done. And it just, that was awesome. You get enough people, it's kind of fun.
That's really different. When we walked out there to number 2 to start helping, Joni would be on one side of the piece of sod and this elderly gentleman would be on the other side. And they would be carrying one piece together to go put it down.
Yeah.
We had like 15 guys and they just grab it and go, just.
Yeah.
It was just those extra hands are so helpful.
Yeah. And as far as for my project update, I think this was done before the last meeting, but the cart paths, hopefully you've all seen those and seen, I mean, I'm very happy with the way those turned out. The road is a little bit different than what I had in my mind, the way they use the asphalt on the edge there, but it's fine. It served its purpose. At Tech, so it's awesome. The area between 10, 9 and whatever that is, the clubhouse. I didn't realize the first time I drove across it, the new one, that's when I realized how bad it was. Cause I was just used to just getting beat all over the place. And then I went and I'm like, look at this. It's awesome, but yeah.
You down number 1 too?
Yeah. Only down 1 and then behind 16, they're going 16 to 17 T. Yeah, but very happy with that turned out. Everything else has kind of been on hold for multiple reasons. Trying to see what the CIP, how this shakes out, and we can't spend money anyway. I can't even turn in a receipt right now. So, so not a lot new on my end for projects.
Anybody got any questions? Anything that you might want to bring up in terms of projects? Say we're going to need to go over the list that we have, what's completed, or that's what we need to do. To anticipate us still having a good financial year, so we wouldn't. Didn't how most places have all the same problems we do, so.
Definitely are gonna be lower on labor because we have vacancies. We are gonna add a couple of them, so it probably would work offset. And then we've had a lot of seasonal and even the higher level seasonal positions that have been vacant for a lot longer than what we wanted. But I guess the only positive, we do have we've saved some money on the expenses. We haven't had near as many irrigation costs this year as we did at this point last year. We'd already spent $250,000 on.
Don't cheat it.
Yeah, that's true. Pumps, wells, whatever. So I think financially, especially bottom line, looking at not just what the revenue, but our profit, where we stand, I think we're going to be better off this year.
Just observation wise, I would think cart rental fee would be up significantly. Boy, the carts just seem like they're out all the time.
Yeah.
Once it gets hot, that's only gonna improve.
Yeah.
We were down, I think, in January and half of February, and then since then we've made up past. And the last number I looked at, we were 20-something thousand over last year, and that was a month ago. And
That'd probably be attributed to a little colder weather this year, early in January, February. So. Anything else? Anybody have any questions or bring up? If not, I make a motion, we adjourn. We have a second.
I second.
There we go. All in favor? Aye.
Right.
yeah, we need to figure out parking.
Yeah, stamp us, whoever.
How they gonna work that?
Darius will have a
I
stamp.
thought it was far with the golf thing. I looked at it.
That doesn't work. You scan it.
I was like you, and I had to make a phone call. to get out. Scan that thing, and I could see the deal happening, and I'm like, oh. When I called the rest, who with the golf?
Yeah.
Gracious.
Did want to see it. I wanted to see what.
Darius probably said, don't let those fuckers.
Jerry's making the rounds, is he?
Not this year.
They had quite a bit. I'll be in there for right now.
Yeah, I've heard it's.
I've never played it until.
Now there's the city can manage to screw up a finger grade. They managed.
My son started doing it. Hands and everything.
Oh, I played pretty good on the front line.
Send me a text message.
Oh, the blow-up holes, yeah. I'm that kind of golfer. Good hole, good hole. That's me.
Where's your?
That's me. But I tell you, by the time we made the turn, it was over.
Put it in there.
Brutal today.
You play
To validate it.
Hate it when you're going out. You come back, you're against the
Right, for the best.
Yeah.
You know what, was not very-
If not, I'll call it gavel.
He did last week.
Playing that thing.
See everybody?
Next.
Good to see you guys.
See you later.
That South Central segment on Thursday.
See you again.
Yeah. Gotta play some time.
Steve wants Greg that day. Oh, is Steve gonna play in that or?
You wanna go down to one of those meetings?
You have that one.
Yeah, thank you.
Good news for you, right? Well, the good news for you is there's, dude. I don't have to be there.
One on May 28th says it's a workshop.
Johnson was ragging
And I
on
don't know if
you.
they have public
Shit about
speakers,
your
but
name,
it's Jesse Burritos. And then Tuesday, June
bro.
4th.
And you could make a putt to the hole.
I'll ask him if.
That email I sent you about. Slash one.
Surprise.
Just let me know. I'll be in touch with you.
Description, it said the workshop typically follows a regular meeting. A regular meeting scheduled for that day, but I might not have. I'll find out for sure if there is, but yes, I will try to get to. At least what I'd like to do first is kind of write a little script or speaking notes and all, you and Jesse, about what we want to emphasize.
Trying to stay in touch with one while over. All this mess with the city.
Oh.
I was such afraid that they're gonna look.
I've got some maps when that with all.
I know.
Alrighty, we're gonna, can we drop our interest? I don't know if we can go any lower, but we're.
Yeah. That's a good.
Up to you.
Yeah, I will try to definitely do one of those and I'd be more than happy to have the moral support and, like I said, I'd like to talk over what points we want to make, because I love the time thing and you have like that night we went, you had about 5 minutes or 3 minutes.
I'm sure it'll be time.
You gotta be pretty succinct. So I was looking on the website, it says that May 28th is a city council workshop. Can public go to that, or is that something we should speak about? Wait until June 4th?
I here's a
Oh,
phone.
that's me.
Oh,
That's me.
sorry.
No, that's okay. But you said it, I was gonna walk out without. Yeah, it even said it was in.
Yeah, it's in here. I don't,
Okay.
I think, I'll verify that in the morning, but I think.
Yeah, if not, if that's not a possibility, then I'll go June 4th.
We'll need to go to the city, the council office right here around the corner.
Uh-huh.
And see, make sure you don't, I don't know what the process is to get on that.
It had a link to a request to speak
Oh, okay.
thing, so
Okay,
I'll
you
check
can do it
that
way.
out.
Gotcha.
I'll
Gotcha.
check that out
Okay.
and see if that works out and
Okay.
go from there. And I was telling Mike that I'll write up some speaking points because I know when he and I went that first time, they limit you to like 3 minutes or something.
Yeah, it's fine.
And-
Yes.
So I just want to make sure we're cutting to the chase and saying what's important.
Are you going alone or do you want to go with you?
He kind of wants to go with me. But if we're limited to 3, I think I can convince him I should talk.
I've set meetings with them, we can get into the specifics about what versus. They don't care, you know, I mean, I don't even know what you're saying. But, and he'll start saying, we had this system and.
Well, you know what, then I'm going to take the speaking points by you first.
Okay.
We'll work on them
Okay.
and then I'll just,
Yeah. All
tell
they
him
want
this is what we're doing.
How much does it cost? What's the benefit? How does it affect me?
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
all they want to know.
Did I offend him too much?
No, but yeah, like it's talking about, but hear that every time.
Yeah. One of my pet peeves, I didn't mean to come on too sharp.
That's the only people that can, like, young girl, are the only people that can work in the benefit card too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was my concern. And I tell you, it's a point with me because I don't know if you know this, Tuesday and Wednesday nights.
It's the law.
Wednesday nights, they've started at Twin Peaks. Freaking kidding me.
Funny, my buddy lives in Texas. He just hosted a Twin Peaks tournament on Saturday, I think, and he was like, you want to talk about, that he's, he used
Oh.
language, but a disaster is
No,
what he meant.
It is.
It's like a bunch of arrogant pricks and,
Absolutely. And they do put women in the beverage carts and they wear next to nothing. And I'm sorry, it just offends me.
I was in Florida and I was probably 19. The course I was at hosted the